Canceled my trip, I asked. You weren't invited anyway, my dad laughed. So I canceled their entire vacation, took back every penny and left them stuck at home. I remained rooted in place, gazing at my parents in astonishment. My fingers quivered as they clung to the kitchen counter, my knuckles paling under the pressure. You revoked my trip? My voice emerged softer than I had anticipated, yet the tension within it was undeniable. My father leaned back in his chair, a smug grin stretching across his face as if he had just triumphed in a contest only he was aware of. You weren't meant to go there anyway, he remarked, casually sipping his coffee as though this was just another routine morning. I swallowed thickly, willing myself to stay composed. My mother sat opposite him, her lips pursed in that same familiar guilty manner, the one she always adopted whenever she complied with his plots, yet wished to evade full accountability. You spent my saving. I articulated each word deliberately, allowing the weight of them to settle. My mother had the nerve to exhale dramatically. Oh, stop being so theatrical, she muttered, waving a dismissive hand. It was just a vacation. We assumed you'd be understanding. Understanding. That was the term they always chose when they did something cruel and expected me to quietly accept it. I retrieved my phone and accessed my banking application. Years of meticulous saving wiped away. I had carefully planned every aspect, the airfare, the lodging, the activities. This trip was meant to be my escape, my long overdue reprieve from years of prioritizing them, and now they had selfishly spent it on themselves. My teeth clenched. So where exactly are you headed? My father let out a chuckle, shoving his chair back as he stood. Somewhere luxurious, he responded. First-class flights, a premium cruise, everything included. You wouldn't have fit in, kid. It's not your style. My mother also rose, giving my arm a light pat as though I were a small child mourning a broken toy. Sweetheart, you'll move past this. That was it. That was the precise moment something inside me fractured. I forced a grin, nodding as if I had finally accepted the situation. You know what, you're absolutely right. I could already sense their relief. They believed I was surrendering, as I always had, but they had made one crucial miscalculation. Every single reservation had been booked in my name, and they had no clue what I was about to do. Taking out my phone, I swiftly scrolled through my emails until I located the confirmation details for their extravagant retreat. Tilting the screen slightly in their direction, I smirked. Well, look at this, I mused. Your flights, your cruise, your little getaway. My mother's expression stiffened, her smile faltering. My father's self-assured smirk diminished ever so slightly. I let out a low chuckle. I should probably verify everything just to make sure all the details are correct. I tapped open the airline's application first. The itinerary loaded in an instant. First-class seats, just as he had so proudly mentioned. Non-refundable certainly, but cancelable without a doubt. With a single tap I obliterated their reservation. A red alert flashed at the top of the screen. Your cancellation request has been successfully processed. My mother let out a sharp gasp. What are you doing? I barely acknowledged her as I moved on to the cruise's website. They had gone all out. An opulent suite, prepaid adventures, gourmet dining experiences. One by one, I clicked through the options and canceled everything. Refund request submitted. The shade drained from my father's skin. You wouldn't dare, he muttered, his tone suddenly missing its usual smug assurance. I turned my phone in his direction, allowing him to witness as I confirmed the final cancellation. Too late. He lunged toward me, attempting to snatch the device, but I yanked it back just in time. Nope, I said, shaking my head. You see, Dad, I do belong there because I was the one who financed it. And since you foolishly reserved everything using my name, you unintentionally handed me absolute authority over it all. My mother's palms flew to her face. But what about us? We have a flight to catch in just a few short hours. I shrugged indifferently. Guess you'll have to figure that out on your own. My father's nostrils flared. You ungrateful selfish. A sharp, bitter laugh escaped me. Selfish? Selfish is stealing from your own child and expecting him to simply accept it. His hands curled into fists, his glare burning with rage, but I wasn't finished yet. Pulling up my banking app once more, I scrolled until I located the transaction from the cruise company. A single tap allowed me to select dispute payment and report it as unauthorized. A strangled gasp escaped my mother. No. Oh, and just so you're informed, I added casually, when you reserve a high-end cruise and then those payments get flagged as fraudulent, they don't appreciate it. In fact, they typically ban you from making future reservations. My father's face darkened to an alarming shade of crimson. You little, I raised a finger, cutting him off. Careful, Dad. You don't want to say something you'll regret later. His body tensed, fists clenched tightly at his sides. My mother's voice wavered. How could you do this to us? I smirked. You did it to yourselves. They were supposed to be on their way in just a few short hours. Instead, they now had no flights, no cruise, and no possible way to reclaim the money they had taken. And the most satisfying part, I wasn't done. My mother scrambled for her phone, her fingers trembling as she desperately attempted to contact the airline. There must be a way to resolve this, she mumbled under her breath. Maybe they can rearrange our booking. Maybe, I interjected flatly. You can pay for it yourselves. She turned to me with wide pleading eyes. You know we don't have the funds for that. I crossed my arms. Then perhaps you should have considered that before stealing my savings. My father stood stiffly, his jaw locked in anger. You ungrateful brat. Tilting my head slightly, I feigned curiosity. What was that, Dad? Speak up. I'd love to hear your thoughts right now. His teeth ground together, but he remained silent. My mother's desperation intensified. She scrolled frantically through her inbox, no doubt hunting for some loophole, some last-minute fix to undo the damage. But there wasn't one. Their lavish trip had ended before it could even begin, and they knew it. The only sound in the room was the frantic tapping of my mother's fingers against her phone's glass screen. My father remained motionless, seething, his complexion growing redder by the second. You actually find this funny? He finally spat. Leaning against the counter, I folded my arms. Oh, absolutely. Watching you both scramble after trying to screw me over? This is the most entertaining thing I've seen in years. My mother's head snapped up, her eyes glistening with panic. We just assumed, she stammered. We never thought you'd react like this, one brow lifted. Oh, and how exactly did you expect me to respond? Thanks for completely robbing me. It wasn't theft, she blurted out, wringing her hands anxiously. It was borrowing. We planned to tell you eventually. A scoff left my lips. Oh, of course. Right after you were lounging on a private balcony, sipping cocktails thousands of miles away. Spare me. My father let out a sharp breath through his nose. You've never been anything but selfish, he hissed, always clutching onto your money like you're somehow better than us. At that I burst into laughter. Oh, you mean the money I worked for? The savings I built while you two recklessly wasted every penny that ever came into your hands? I shook my head. I've been covering your expenses for years. Rent, groceries, fixing your car, everything. And this was the last straw. My mother sniffled. We deserve this vacation. We haven't had a single break in years. I stared at her in shock. And you think I have? When's the last time I went on a trip, Mom? Oh, that's right. Never. Because I was too busy keeping you two from sinking under the weight of your own financial mess. My father slammed his fist onto the table. You owe us, boy. Something inside me snapped. Owe you? I echoed, my tone eerily calm yet ice cold. You're absolutely right. I did owe you. I owed you respect, commitment, and support until you threw all of that away. Now I owe you nothing. My words hung in the air like a storm cloud. My mother collapsed into a chair, looking like she might actually start sobbing. My father, on the other hand, just stared at me, his face unreadable. I took a steady breath, then turned toward the door. Oh, and one last thing, I added, pausing mid-step. I reported every single transaction as fraudulent. That money, it's being returned to me. My mother let out a shocked gasp. My father's nostrils flared in fury. I grinned. Have an amazing trip. And with that, I walked out. I fully expected my phone to start buzzing right away, but it didn't. No desperate phone calls, no enraged voice messages, just silence. At first it felt unnerving. My parents weren't the type to give up easily, especially not when they believed they were entitled to something. But as time ticked by, I realized exactly what was happening. They were panicking. They were probably calling the airline, the cruise company, the bank, anyone who might be able to reverse what I had done. But there was nothing to undo. Because unlike them, I had played by the rules. Each cancellation was legitimate. Every refund request was supported by solid evidence of unauthorized activity. I hadn't done anything deceptive. I had simply taken back what was mine, and they knew it. By the time morning arrived, my phone screen finally lit up with a message. Mom, we need to talk. Call me. I smirked, ignored. 10 minutes later, another message appeared. Mom, please, sweetheart, we made a mistake. Let's sort this out. Still ignored. Then the anger kicked in. Dad, you spoiled little brat, you're destroying everything. You're punishing us for no reason. Fix this, now. I let out a short laugh, blocked. I was no longer their personal bank account, and they were just starting to grasp what that truly meant. By the afternoon, the floodgates burst open. Calls from hidden numbers, unfamiliar contacts, emails, even messages from distant relatives who had no business inserting themselves into this. My mother was throwing every possible tactic at me. Mom, we understand that you're upset, but we can talk this through. We can work this out. An hour later, Mom, this is childish, honey. You can't just cut us off like this. We're your parents. There it was, the guilt trip. Then my father's turn. Dad, you actually think this is amusing? You canceling our vacation makes you clever? You have absolutely no clue what you've just done? That one made me chuckle. Oh, I knew exactly what I had done. I had finally taken control. For years I had been their safety net, the responsible, dependable son who always swooped in to clean up their wreckage. And for years I had allowed them to get away with it until now. I sprawled across my couch, leisurely flipping through the flood of messages, witnessing their desperation unfold in real time. The most satisfying part, I had yet to deliver the ultimate blow. Getting my funds returned wasn't sufficient. They needed to experience the consequences of their action. I accessed the cruise company's online portal for one final check. Just as expected, their entire booking had been flagged due to the disputed charges. This didn't just mean their vacation had vanished. It also meant they were now blacklisted from making high-end reservations in the future. A smirk tugged at my lips, but I wasn't stopping there. Since they had fraudulently used my identity to arrange the entire trip, I had complete access to the travel protection plan they had purchased. This coverage included cancellation, but only for the official account holder. In other words, me. Without hesitation, I submitted the necessary claim, attached all required documentation, and within moments I received an automated email confirming my refund request had been successfully processed. In simple terms, not only had I retrieved my lost money, but I now held fresh travel credits fully under my name. So naturally, I did what any rational person in my position would do. I secured my own dream getaway, first-class airfare, 5-star accommodations, exclusive experiences, every lavish detail they had meticulously arranged for themselves. I now possessed but upgraded. Grinning to myself, I tapped confirm reservation. At that exact moment, just as anticipated, my mother's name illuminated my phone screen in a final desperate attempt to manipulate me into undoing the chaos they had created. I let the call ring unanswered, then I powered my phone off. They could sit in the wreckage of their own making. I had a vacation to prepare for. By the time morning arrived, my phone was flooded with 37 missed calls. A torrent of messages awaited me. Texts, emails, every possible attempt at reaching me short of sending a carrier pigeon. Mom, please, sweetheart, return my call. We can fix this. Dad, you ungrateful disgrace. I can't believe you would betray your own parents like this. And from an aunt, I barely interacted. Aunt Hazel, sweetie, your mom is heartbroken. She says you stole all their money and abandoned them. This doesn't sound like you. Please call her. Ah, there it was, the classic manipulation tactic. Twisting the story, playing the helpless victims. I disregarded every message and proceeded with my morning as usual. I brewed myself a cup of coffee, played some music, and calmly continued packing for my trip. It wasn't until midday that the doorbell rang. I didn't even glance at the peephole. I already knew who it was. As I swung open the door, I was met with my mother's tear-streaked face, her eyes puffy from what appeared to be hours of sobbing. Behind her, my father stood with his arms crossed, his expression dark with barely restrained fury. "Ryan," my mother began, forcing a weak, trembling smile. "Honey, let's talk." I leaned against the doorway, completely composed. "Talk about what?" I asked, my tone smooth but cutting. "How you stole from me and now feel upset that you got caught?" Her face contorted with distress. "It wasn't theft," she protested desperately. "We needed this trip. We've been under so much stress and I needed that money," I interjected, my words sharp. "I spent years saving for that vacation. It was supposed to be mine," my father scoffed. "Oh, cry me a river. Life isn't fair. Get over it." I flashed a knowing smile. "Well, neither is getting permanently barred from luxury cruises for committing fraud." His complexion paled instantly. "What the hell are you talking about?" I folded my arms. "Oh, you didn't check your inbox?" I mused. "The cruise company doesn't take kindly to fraudulent bookings. Not only is your trip canceled, but your account has been flagged indefinitely." I tilted my head mockingly. "Hope you weren't planning on indulging in high-end vacations anytime soon." My mother gasped in horror. No. Her hands trembled as she fumbled for her phone, urgently scrolling through her emails in a desperate attempt to confirm what I had just said. I caught the sharp inhale from my mother the instant she saw the alert. My father's nostrils flared with fury. "Watch yourself," I cautioned, tilting my head slightly. "You really don't want to say something you'll regret." His hands balled into fists, but he stayed quiet. I smirked. "As much as I'd love to keep this conversation going, I've got packing to do." My mother's eyes widened. "Packing?" "Yeah," I responded, stretching leisurely. Since the travel credit was issued under my name, I went ahead and arranged a vacation for myself. 5-star accommodations, first-class tickets. Oh, and I even upgraded all the excursions. Figured I'd splurge a little. A strained choke noise escaped her lips. "You stole our trip?" my father barked. "Wrong," I corrected, amusement flickering in my tone. "I used my money. You just attempted to get to it first." My mother looked like her legs might give out beneath her. "Ryan, please," she pleaded, her voice shaking. "We can't afford to book another trip." "That," I said, stepping backward into my house, "sounds like your dilemma." And with that, I shut the door directly in their faces. For a few moments I stood still, listening as my mother whimpered while my father grumbled curses under his breath. They hovered for a minute longer before stomping away, still muttering about how I had destroyed their vacation. I just shook my head, smirking to myself. Let them stay angry. I had a vacation to enjoy. The second I arrived at the airport, I felt lighter than I had in years. While my parents were likely sulking in frustration back home, I was breezing through first-class check-in, sipping a complimentary drink, and scrolling through my flawlessly intact itinerary as I waited at the gate. My phone vibrated once again. Mom, Ryan, please, we can't afford to rebook. We were counting on this trip. Just call me. I stared at the message for a few seconds, then I powered off my phone. No more guilt. No more emotional blackmail. No more cleaning up their disaster. As the boarding announcement echoed across the terminal, I smiled, grabbed my bag and strolled toward the jet bridge. They had attempted to take my dream getaway. Now I was taking it back. The very moment I sank into my plush first-class seat, I knew I had won. A flight attendant approached with a warm smile, offering a glass of champagne before takeoff. I accepted it gratefully, reclining in my spacious seat while passengers in economy crammed into their narrow rows. This was what I had worked so hard for. I gazed out the window, imagining my parents sitting at home, seething in anger and regret. They had been so sure they could take what belonged to me without repercussions, so convinced that I would cave like I always had. They had no idea that the moment they stole from me was the moment I stopped being their doormat. As the aircraft taxied onto the runway, my thoughts drifted toward the resort awaiting my arrival. 5-star luxury, breathtaking ocean views, world-class spa treatment. Everything they had envisioned for themselves was now mine. By the time I reached my destination, the stress of the past several days had completely dissolved. The instant I stepped into the grand stunning lobby of the resort, a concierge greeted me by name, handing me a cool towel and a tropical welcome drink. "Mr. Reynolds," she said warmly, "your suite is prepared. We've also secured your private island excursion for tomorrow morning. Would you like to add anything else to your itinerary?" A grin stretched across my face. This was everything I had longed for. Over the next several days I indulged in every luxury my parents had originally arranged for themselves, but elevated to an entirely new level. Fine dining? I ordered the priciest dishes available. Spa treatments? I scheduled extra appointments simply because I could. Excursions? I upgraded every single one, ensuring I received the ultimate VIP treatment. And the most satisfying part, I experienced all of it while my parents remained trapped at home, furious and utterly powerless. On the third day of my getaway, I finally gave into curiosity and glanced at my phone. Unsurprisingly, it was overflowing with missed calls and messages, a frantic mixture of frustration, guilt-tripping and desperate pleas. "Mom, you can't ignore us forever. No matter what, we're still your parents. Dad, enjoy your little holiday, you spoiled child. Just wait. You'll regret this someday. Mom again, Ryan, please just help us sort this out. We can talk when you return." Smirking, I snapped a photo of my breathtaking oceanfront view and fired off a single reply. "Wish you were here." "Oh wait." Then without hesitation I switched my phone off again. Let them sit with their choices. I had paradise waiting for me. By the time my vacation drew to a close, I had never felt so at ease. I had spent my days sprawled out on untouched beaches, indulging in world-class cuisine, and immersing myself in stunning scenery. Every experience felt like a victory, not just because of the extravagance, but because I had finally freed myself from the burden of my parents' manipulation. As I zipped up my suitcase, I decided to check my phone one last time. More missed calls, more unread texts. But something was different this time. No more shouting. No more commands. Just silence from my father and a final message from my mother. "Mom, Ryan, I don't even know what to say anymore. We only wanted something nice for ourselves. We never thought you'd actually do this. I hope that someday you'll understand." Oh, I understood perfectly. That was the problem. I had finally realized they would never own up to their actions, never apologize, never admit their wrongdoing. And that was when it hit me. I hadn't just reclaimed my trip, I had reclaimed my life. As I stepped onto my flight back home, I erased their messages, blocked their contacts, and leaned back into my seat with an exhale of pure satisfaction. They had made their decision, and I had made mine. I was finished, and for the first time ever, I was truly free.
Thank you for watching. Like, share, and follow.